The story of the Chartered Institute of Personal Management spans over 60 years and is a tale of trials, tribulations, and triumphs. From its humble beginnings in 1959 by a group of professionals who envisaged the power of people profession in the local and global context and who refused to be told what to do and what cannot be done. Today, those seeds have grown into a center of excellence for people management professionals. With a member base of 1,500, which is ever growing, including chartered fellows, chartered members, honorary members, associates and affiliates, CIPM takes pride of place among other professional bodies in the country as one of the elite institutes representing the people profession.
As a professional institution, CIPM Sri Lanka has been established by an Act of Parliament, and it has been designed and structured to deliver core values and objectives in the field of human resource management in this country. All the professionals of this institute have been groomed and developed as leaders to practice human resource management in public and private sector organizations in producing unconventional results. I invite all young practitioners join CIPM Sri Lanka and start acquiring new techniques, best practices, and advanced principles in people management to become great leaders.
School arm remains the most prominent among all facilities of CIPM, with a student population of around 10,000 annually. A panel of industry and academic experts who serve on the lecturing panels and affiliations with many international universities and professional bodies. CIPM has earned a name as the epitome in the studies on people management in Sri Lanka. CIPM, with its research arm and the consultancy, seminars and workshops, is also geared with state-of-the-art modern facilities for members to conduct applied researches and publications, as well as to provide related services to the industry. CIPM's ethos remains to facilitate the local fraternity while ensuring that the importance and multifaceted aspect of people profession is made available to all connected with people management. In this endeavor, many events dot the CIPM annual calendar, which includes the National HR Conference, the Great HR Quiz, the Great HR Debate, the Great HR Symposium, the Great HR Practices, the Great HR Walk, and the star-studded CIPM Graduation Ceremony, and more. There are many reasons why people enroll at CIPM. Here are just a few. By becoming a CIPM qualified professional, you will get full recognition of your skills in the world of work. What's more, you can increase your earning potential by as much as 75%. You will enhance your CV, giving you that much needed job security and increase your job prospects. There are many courses that are conducted by the CIPM Business School for you to choose from. CIPM regional centers are strategically placed at important economic hubs of the country, such as Kandy, Galle, Kurunegala, Gampaha and Negombo, and more will be established at such strategic locations in time to come to bring the profession to all four corners of the country. CIPM has always prided itself with its membership, governed by an executive council consisting of industry experts, seasoned professionals and academics, which have carried a legacy in the profession through the decades. CIPM has over the years cultivated strong relationships in order to ensure that the industry best practices are adopted at all levels. Its long-standing affiliation with Asia Pacific Foundation of Human Resources Management, World Federation of People Management Associations, and Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka are proof of this. CIPM has enhanced the vistas of the people profession in Sri Lanka and has gone beyond the geographic boundaries in conquering the region and embarked upon the elaborate journey true to its vision with a chartered status, and also by hosting the World HR Congress 2020 in Colombo, Sri Lanka, which is a historic landmark for CIPM and will pave us the way to go global. CIPM Sri Lanka.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the CIPM Kandy chapter, I would like to welcome you all to this very important and interesting webinar titled Booming Opportunities for Sri Lankan Tech Talent. We have I would say the presenter this evening with us, who is a living example of this particular topic, I would say. So I would go on later to explain and introduce him to you all. But I would like to start with, Sri Lanka right now is going through difficult times under a long drawn, I would say, deep economic crisis in the country. The people are suffering from a lot of hardships, but I'd say there is, they'd say that in every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. So every opportunity or every, I would say, miss opportunity, like, for example, the COVID and this economic crisis has something that we can learn, and it'll bring in new things that would, create opportunities to bring us out of this kind of abyss and maybe the economic doldrums to the country. And ICT, or this the tech talent, is one of the things that enables this kind of recovery of Sri Lankan economy. And I'd say that it will be amply explained by our presenter this evening. So with the advent of, just to give a kind of a preamble, with the advent of the remote work, the AI, machine learning, IoT, and the world has changed forever. And also the blockchains. And there will be no turning back, but only the forward march of this pandemic experiences we had with the advent of the remote work. Actually, people have very few little people, I would say, the techies only have known remote work in the past before the start of the pandemic, but it's now everybody's game. And we need to make future ready, future focus IT professionals to build up more and more IT professionals in the country for future ready and future focused people, which would redefine work through technologies such as blockchains and the mega trends like quantum computing, and also the cloud computing, which would infinitely increase what computers would do and could do. Also the mobile technologies has put the computer into everybody's hand, and all around the world, every corner of the world. People even do not know that they do some advanced computing through the mobile phones and mobile technologies, even without their knowledge. All these are evolving still. Every day, every minute, the technology, especially the digital technologies, are evolving at a breakneck speed. And nobody is able to therefore predict the future, where we are and we are going to end up. And for example, just last month, we saw the private citizens go into space. And also the space, our modern day space hero, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is busy making space travel 1,000 times cheaper than what NASA and its compatriots used to do. So the only constant, as Lord Buddha said, is change, nothing else. And the pandemic has made the adoption of digital in a flip of a wrist. And maybe companies made remote work take root in the people's lives. This really has made the transformation possible, making distance obsolete the concept of global village possible? I mean, it's really practically possible. We were talking about global village since long ago, but it's quite rhetorical and maybe a bit literal. But it made the pandemic made possible, the new technologies made possible the concept of global village and the virtual time travel also. So it is remarkable and exciting to see the new generation of cyberpreneurs, or I would say solopreneurs in the business and playing a pivotal role in the current day, modern day business. And we already have people like that in the guise of Johannes and many others. In time to come, there will be many more. And these kind of digital natives will rock the world, taking their place as true global citizens, I would say, worldwide. And once again, I must thank the Candy chapter for bringing in this important topic and very important person this evening to talk about this topic. If I introduce you to him, Mr. Mohammed Hamedi, he's a seasoned entrepreneur with a track record of about 5 startups and numerous CTO roles he played worldwide in different countries of the world, Taiwan, China, UAE. And there are 3 successful public traded companies exist that he has started, which includes Game Minion, Spear Network, and Curobase. He also have successfully developed and led the technology team of El Grocer, the region's leading grocery platform, and Zvoonie. Earlier, his early career included working as a senior software engineer in Cisco and Hewlett-Packard. Also that he is born in Tripoli, Libya, interestingly, but he grew up in London, spent about 9 years in the United States, California, and been in Dubai since, he'd been working in Dubai as his base since 2005. If I may talk a bit about his family, 25 years of marriage with 4 kids, and we have one of the daughters working in New York, and a son graduating from electrical engineering, University of Nottingham, United Kingdom, this August. He has another two children, 14 and 9-year-old boy in Dubai, with academic qualifications, BSc in computer science. And also his future dreams are to be invited to be part of the startup launched by someone that has worked with him. And that's a great dream, I would say. And he has worked in many countries. Currently, he has his clients in about 18 countries, or small restaurants and large enterprises and multinational brands. And he also currently powers about 70% of cloud kitchens in MENA. So his business that he's talking about this evening employs many Sri Lankans, and he shared with me that he's employing about 180 people in 18 different countries, out of which 6 of his top class engineers are Sri Lankans. And this evening we have a member of our Candy chapter, Mr. Hasantha Harshana Seneviratna, I'm sorry. And he also worked for Mo. So I call him Mo as a project team lead of the ICT from Sri Lanka. So without, I would say, much ado, we would like to hear about the experiences of what he has, so far gained working with Sri Lankan ICT professionals. And he has his latest company, Grub Tech. I was told that grub in American slang is about food. So this new enterprise, GrubTech, which is based in Dubai and supply food technology platforms to many food industry restaurants, especially. So let's hear from our friend, Mr. Mohammed Hamidi, who's joining us from Dubai. Over to you, Mo.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure and honor to be invited for such an event. Just a brief history. GrubTech was launched around 2019, August. It was myself and my other two co-founders and 6 engineers out of Sri Lanka. As you mentioned, today we're about a total of about over 180 people in the company, with the bulk of the engineering is still based in Sri Lanka. I would say over 90%, if not more. I think everybody who's worked with me will know that definitely I'm a biased person when it comes to Sri Lanka. I'm a big fan of the country, the people, the food, especially the people who've dealt with me. I think, like I mentioned to you, it's one of those hidden gems, and there's a massive opportunity for Sri Lankan talent. I think Sri Lankan people, young men and women, have the aptitude, they have the ethical work attitude, the intelligence, and the ability to be, in the top, if not the top engineers that are available, to work on different types of projects around the world. I think the opportunity is there for the talent of Sri Lankans to take. I think it's definitely fair, and everybody who knows me will know that, without a shadow of a doubt, the Sri Lankan engineer built GrubTech. There's nobody can actually question that. The company was started literally with just an idea. Everybody has an idea. It comes down to the execution. And without the Sri Lankan talent, we wouldn't be here where we are today, powering significant amount, big multinational brands from, spread all over 18 so countries. Really, the effort and the ingenuity and the, just the ideas and the execution, without a shadow of a doubt, was all down to the Sri Lankan talent. Without, we wouldn't be here with, where we are today. So I'm absolutely grateful to see a dream that I had come true based on individuals came together and just really put their heart and soul and their brain power to execute on this flawlessly. So I'm absolutely grateful, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity. It is the first time I've actually worked with Sri Lankan engineers. So I think I'm definitely honored, and it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to do this.
All right. I hope Mo is I've heard that is a good ardent Sri Lankan tea fan also, and a ginger beer fan, right?
Absolutely, EGB.
Yeah. Right. So I think you can develop expand business in Middle East. Yeah, for ginger beer Sri Lanka. I know your own brand, I suppose, from Sri Lanka. So Mo, let's move on and see. Can you just talk about a little bit about what is this GrubTech does in the industry, and what is basically GrubTech is all about?
Okay, so basically, with the advent of COVID and just sort of the paradigm shift with people's ordering habits, and I know in Sri Lanka you have Pick Me and Uber Eats when it comes to ordering delivery. So what GrubTech does is specifically solve a problem whereby a lot of the F&B outlets, the restaurants or cloud kitchens, they want to be able to service the delivery business. So they have multiple aggregators. So take, for example, in Sri Lanka, if I have a restaurant, I have a Pick Me tablet and an Uber Eats tablet. That means I have a tablet and a printer for each of these brands. Now, if I want to expand on my investment, I still have my kitchen and I want to launch multiple brands. For every brand, you're going to have 2 tablets and 2 printers. So the first thing we did is we actually basically did an API integration with all these food aggregators, and we've given them a super tablet, meaning you only have 1 tablet in your kitchen or your location that can actually bring in orders regardless of where the order comes in. And then we help you optimize your kitchen operation. Therefore, you can actually launch multiple brands, give you data and analytics, and be able to service the customer better, maximize your investment in the restaurant, and hopefully become much more profitable and optimize in your service. Now, that was how we started. But again, the opportunity that we had is with the Sri Lankan team, recognized straight away that we cannot just build a product. We need to build a platform. This was allow us to do geographical growth, which is very important. I want to emphasize on this because there's a complete change of mindset when you're building a product versus a platform. We could not build a platform if the talent is not able to build a system that can be almost exponentially scalable. Because when I build a platform, that means I'm promising to the client that I'm able to do multiple integrations with anything, whether it's your point of sale, your ERP, your finance, your HR, whatever it is, and be able to grow geographically very, very quickly. That for you to be able to achieve that, the engineering brainpower, engineering team needs to build a system to be able to do this from day one. You cannot retrofit this. It's just not feasible. And I know I keep going about this, but the engineering team did this correct from the day one, which allows us to do what we do today, and basically build this platform whereby tomorrow, simply put, if we do not design or implement the technology correctly today, I will not be able to service customers in Malaysia, Singapore, South Africa, Italy, and the whole Middle East. And not just that, with COVID, the number of orders that are going through our channel have just exponentially grown. That means your system needs to be built from the ground up to be able to sustain this kind of growth. Economically as well, much more technically feasible to add a lot of other capabilities, meaning your design from day one and your implementation. And there's one key thing. When COVID kicked in, a lot of these restaurants depended 100% on the GrubTech system for their livelihood. So it is a bit of a big burden on the Sri Lankan team to be able to have that responsibility, because what they did either allowed that entrepreneur, the restaurateur, to survive or die. Because if their system did not work, he has zero revenue, literally zero. So maybe this is not being bubbled up, but if the system did not work, you will not be able to get orders and actually survive. So that's definitely one of the key things that I keep highlighting to our investors, our team, and everybody.
Right. So you said that this technology. I'd really like to ask once again for clarity. So the GrabTech is actually a kind of a back office infrastructure, right?
In a sense, yes. It actually integrates. It basically captures your order from all your order channels, helps you process that order. So in a cloud kitchen environment, let's say I order a burger, fries, and a drink. When the order comes in, our system is able to break this up into 3 different pieces, send it to the right station, make sure that the staff prepare it correctly, and then combine it again and be able to get it ready for dispatch to be delivery. Now take this and multiply that by 10. So you're not just serving one brand, you're multiple brands. So you can just imagine the complexity of being able to achieve that, right? It just goes completely very, very complex. So we need to be able to simplify that and allow the restaurant to operate very efficiently in a cost-effective manner.
So, by the way, your GrabTech platform or the software, is it being used in Sri Lanka also?
Currently not yet. Purely from just manpower and growth. So we launched it in the UAE first, and then we started expanding out in the GCC. And then a lot of the inbounds with the requests were all coming. The requests were coming inbound. So we've only recently started kicking up our sales initiative and our marketing. But initially, due to COVID, a lot of the leads were inbound.
Right. So let us go back and talk about this Sri Lankan tech talent. How do you gauge Sri Lankan tech talent now? Why really you took interest, and how basically in the beginning you were introduced to Sri Lankan tech talent?
Yeah, that's actually very interesting, because I've never actually thought about Sri Lanka, to be quite frank, and I've worked with different engineering teams from all over the world, as you can imagine, and it never occurred to me, quite honestly, that Sri Lanka had tech talent at this level, at least, right? And then my co-founder did some work with an engineering team in Sri Lanka in his previous job, and then he basically, and I already prepared that I'm going to be going to this particular location, and he said to me, "Why don't we look at Sri Lanka?" And I'll be honest with you, my initial reaction was, "Really? I mean, is this real?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's just check it out. We got nothing to lose." And to tell you that I was blown away by my initial discussion with. So the way we did it, we worked with another two Sri Lankan gentlemen, David brothers, Raj and Pradeep, who assisted us in basically providing manpower initially because we had no legal entity to recruit directly. And with most amazing experience to one of the most wonderful gentlemen that we work with, who help us set up and bring this talent. And in my initial interviews with the talent, it's sort of a light bulb, right? Like, where have you guys been all my life, kind of thing. Seriously. And then it was really after my initial discussion with some key individuals that we recruited initially. It wasn't obvious that this is the place that we need to. And it wasn't just a tech talent, quite honestly. It was just the attitude, the character of the people, the just the work ethics. There's more than, there's an old adage, you can always, you teach somebody to become an engineer, but you can't teach a person to be good, right? They're good or bad. Engineering is taught, through practice and, doing the personalities or the insides of these individuals was completely different for me from what I've experienced in the past. And as you can imagine, I'm a very, very people person. So if I can't get along or have to go for lunch, for a drink with anybody, then I'll find it difficult to interact with them. And it was just such an easy experience dealing with Sri Lankans, generally, not just talent, that it just made it easy. I mean, the communication was easy. The thinking logic was pretty straightforward. It was logical. There was a significant humbleness and acceptance to listen to other opinions. And I think that's quite rare, unfortunately, in the world these days.
Yeah, of course, yes. That's quite it in the world. Yeah, some in the tech industry, of course, most people, rhetorically show talent, but when it comes to the real thing, it sometimes mediocre, isn't it, Mo?
Absolutely, 100%. I think there is more to technology than just tech, right? It's we're all dealing with people. The other thing that impressed me, and I'd love to share this, is that generally speaking, when you look at tech in certain countries, it's a direct reflection of the size of the country, right? So if you go to a smaller country, generally speaking, the tech that has been developed in that smaller country is usually the engineers don't have the experience to build systems that can scale, right? Because there's no requirement. This was an exception in Sri Lanka, right? So the talent that we're working with us and that we discovered is that although it is a small country, but the talent was able to develop technology that is significantly larger, that is able to cope with significant scale, which is very, very rare. But that goes down to, for me, as far as the way I read this, is it goes down to the individuals, right? It's, to build something at scale or at a high-end technology, that person needs to be hungry to learn. And I think I think this is due to multiple things, whether it's the Sri Lankan attitude or it's the education system. I also put it down to a lot of the family structure, right? I think that sort of inherently impacts, the individuals are responsible and wanting to do a great job and really driving themselves to better themselves as well as the community. So this was a pleasant surprise, is that you had a small country with talent that is actually able to build at scale, which I think was a very unique proposition.
All right. So since this webinar is organized by CIPM and we are predominantly HR professional organization. So I've heard that in your organization, there are minimum of 2 HR professionals who are CIPM graduates who runs I would know, in HR. In what capacities are they in, and how do you gauge their talents as HR people?
So just to follow up my previous statement. So after we started growing the team, we went ahead and we established a legal entity in Sri Lanka, and we started recruiting in Sri Lanka. We hired a GM who her name is Rushanti. She's an absolute superstar. And this is another key thing is the women the Sri Lankan women are unbelievably talented, and I'd love to give an opportunity. We have a a QA team that is managed by Madhubashini, and she's a absolute rock star, just like the rest of the talent. But I know this is being broadcast, and I would love to see much more women who are in the engineering part. We will definitely welcome them, and I can definitely see an opportunity for us within GrubTech for that. But for us to be able to establish a legal entity, I wanted to make sure that we have a GM that is handling the Sri Lankan entity, that understands and caters for them. Because although we're geographically spread, we're in Dubai, they needed to be that they understand and feel that they're part of GrubTech, because they're not just part of GrubTech, they are one of the main key pillars that is holding the whole company up. So they need to be, addressed as that. So we have the 2 in-house HR, I believe. I'll be honest with you, I'm not very much involved in that, but the way I would gauge that is by looking at the talent that is coming through the door. And as we are growing, and the exposure that GrubTech is getting in Sri Lanka is absolutely outstanding. And again, it's not just recruiting, it's how do you address and take care of the talent for retention.
The total HR ecosystem, right?
Absolutely, and address their concerns, making sure they're happy, because the worst you can do, you can have a genius, but if they're not happy at the office or even at home, that will impact your work. And that's not, at the end of the day, work comes and goes. It's your well-being is very, very critical, more now than ever, especially post-COVID, or currently during COVID. So we really wanted to have people on the ground that understands and caters for them specifically, and make sure that their needs are addressed.
So they are only handling the local, the Sri Lankan workforce here of your company, or worldwide?
Currently, they're only handling the Sri Lankan one because it is the biggest one. So if I look at GrubTech as a whole, like I said, I would say about 70%, if not more, of the total human power of GrubTech is actually in Sri Lanka. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So one other thing, that how do you are you looking at expanding your talent pool in Sri Lanka right now?
Absolutely, 100%. We're always looking for great talent, and I mean great talent, and I use this word specifically, and I don't mean experienced talent. I want talent, meaning somebody who, we have a bunch of interns who've come in who are delivering great product, right? So I have no problem. I just need somebody, or I'm looking for somebody who is hungry, who is not afraid to try. And if you speak to the people that I work with in the engineering department, they'll tell you I'm definitely in the experimentation encouragement, right? So I'm looking for talent. Like I said, not necessarily experience, somebody who is driven, somebody who's motivated, somebody who's willing to learn. And that's what we were looking for, right? You can nurture these individuals to become amazing engineers. You can't expect everybody to be born being a super duper engineer, but they have to have the ingredients to be able to do that. And these are the key people that we're looking for at any level.
All right. That's a great thing, if somebody is in this audience, so they can, to add to that, what are the kind of qualification and the basic requirements that you all are looking for when you're hiring Sri Lankan budding IT professionals?
I don't know if this is the right forum to say, but in my personal opinion, right, I am looking for an engineer. I'll be honest to you, and this might be a bit controversial. I am not too concerned about their background academically. I'll be honest to you, it doesn't really. I will gauge that person based on who they are in front of me today. Can they achieve? Are they hardworking? Are they, ethical? Are they motivated to achieve? Whether, and I know not many CTOs or entrepreneurs will say this, whether they have a degree or not, I'll be honest to you, it's not very relevant to me. What I care about is that person, can he learn? Or she can learn? Are they motivated? Are they a team player? Are they, looking to push the boundaries? I'm not looking for people to just follow instructions. I can get those by the boatload, So yeah, absolutely. I'm just, in any field, if I get hold of a great talent and she's an absolute superstar and she only has a high school degree, I will find a place for her to work.
All
You know,
right.
there's always stuff to do. You know, we will come up with things if there's a talent that I can bring in and get in, add value to the company. Everything else is it's not relevant for me personally, at least.
In your opinion, now, what are the downsides in hiring Sri Lankan professionals? For example, take our labor laws of the country, or any other area that you can mention, and we need to rectify. I would say.
Actually, the only downside I would say about the hiring in Sri Lanka is, which is, I'm actually, it's counterintuitive because I'm promoting Sri Lanka and I'm promoting Sri Lankan talent, is my talent being poached by other companies. Really, seriously. But if you think about from a labor laws or anything, you guys are very similar within standard practices of other countries. So that's not an issue. And at the end of the day, if there's a talent that you need, any company, whether it's GrubTech or anybody else, they'll do whatever you need to achieve them. And especially, and I think we'll discuss this regarding remote first. This is a huge opportunity that's opened up for all talent across the world. And specifically, I think it's a massive opportunity for the Sri Lankan talent. But going back to your point, the only concern I have is, which is, by the way, great for the talent, is us as companies or entrepreneurs, we need to fight and make sure and convince the talent why they should stay with GrubTech. It's not the other way around anymore, right? This is definitely a talent positive advantage versus the company. You as a talent, and if you're a good talent, you have the whole world open to you. It's my duty as a company to convince you, Harshana, why should you stay with GrubTech? What is it that GrubTech going to offer you more than company X, Y, and Z?
Mm-hmm. All right. So that means there's no barrier in hiring Sri Lankan talent at all. So how many? Well, right now all Sri Lankan professionals who are with you are working on the ground in the country, not based in Dubai or any other country, is it?
No, we have a combination. So the bulk, I would say, the majority are in Sri Lanka, and we have a smaller team that we've relocated into Dubai.
Mm-hmm. So, in your opinion, say take your company now. To what extent that you employ technologies such as AI, and well, I know that cloud is your bane, right? In the sense, cloud is your bread and butter where you work on the cloud technologies. But to what extent that you use AI and these blockchain technologies per se?
So currently we don't use any blockchain. It's not in our tech stack. But when it comes to AI, this is something we have in our roadmap that we want to achieve. So one of the things I have is also have a segment of there's about 4 of them that are heading the R&D. We have some really amazing talent that is managing the R&D that is actually basically should be doing experimentation on products that take 9 months, 8 months, 10 months to see the light. So we as a culture in the engineering is that we definitely have a culture of experimenting and trying new technology. This is one of the key things you'll notice is that the technology that we use in GrubTech is bleeding edge. So the talent that is currently in GrubTech is the experience is really at the edge of the top new technology, whether it's some of the new cloud-based infrastructure or systems that we use. It's really at the beginning, and I'm always encouraging our team to try new things, try something else, because that's the only way you can learn and add. And hopefully that will trickle down, not just into the GrubTech talent, but hopefully that will bleed into some other talent that is based in Sri Lanka. We use Kafka, which is this event streaming technology. The experience that the GrubTech team has, and I know that we will have people leaving the company, but actually, if they leave and they educate somebody else within Sri Lanka about this new technology, whatever learnings they've done in GrubTech, I'll be honest with you, I count that as a win at an individual level, right? That this technology did go out and disseminate into other talent in Sri Lanka, because they will all bring out other younger up and coming engineers. They will learn about this, and the only way they can learn this is by somebody being in Sri Lanka and transferring that knowledge that they gained through us. And I am not. I am definitely be sad if any of my engineers leave, because I would love, with me, as I did something wrong, that I did not give them the right environment to be able to flourish and stay. But at the same time, if I feel that this person is going to help the Sri Lankan ecosystem, I will notch that out as a win for me as an individual as well. Maybe not as a company losing a talent. As an individual, I think I definitely would not be too upset about that, because then more people will have much more talent and be able to have exposure to some advanced technologies.
Right. As you know, our neighboring big brother, India is big into BPOs and also call center operations and things like that. So how do you compare the business in India, and in particular the Indian professionals, with the Sri Lankan IT professionals, if you have any experiences or other? Yeah,
I do, and I think the difference is it really comes down to, and I apologize if I offend anybody, but I think it comes to volume versus quality, right? So I think India is churning out a crazy amount of numbers of engineers, right? So what is the percentage of those that I would say they're tier one? Whereas, and I'm purely mentioning this based on my experience, I think in Sri Lanka, the percentage of tier ones is significantly higher as a percentage of the total output of engineers in Sri Lanka. Do I know why? It's difficult to understand why that's the case. But I'm not looking at as pure numbers. I'm looking at as a percentage. I think, again, I am a genuine believer, again, from my firsthand experience, is the percentage of tier one engineers in Sri Lanka is significantly higher than India. For whatever reason, maybe it's the educational system, maybe it's exposure to the East, Scandinavian countries or Australia, where they do a lot of investment and technology being in Sri Lanka and giving them exposure to high-end technology. Possibly that's the case. I am not sure.
On the other hand, how about their compensation? Well, probably you may be an equal opportunity and equal pay company. How do you compare, when it comes to compensation of Sri Lankan talent and the other countries? Say, for example, take your tier one companies in different tier one professionals in different countries.
Yeah. I think, again, in my first-hand experience, I think the tier one engineers in Sri Lanka are definitely have a much higher earning power than, let's say, in India, for sure. Without a shadow of a doubt, I think there's an opportunity. And I think with the advent of COVID and remote first, I think what is done to the talent is basically flattened the world and said to the talent, hey, you have access to engineering companies or companies out of the US, Europe, any of the Asia Pacific countries. You have access at equal level, right? Because all these companies are reverting to becoming remote first and building systems or using systems to allow them to efficiently operate on remote first with minimum management. Because most people, companies were concerned about running remote teams because how they're going to manage them, and there were no systems in place to assist with that. But I think this is changing. And I think this gives the Sri Lankan talent a significant opportunity to basically highlight themselves, which I think is the gap, right? I think the gap is the Sri Lankan talent is too humble to be able to put their hand up and say, hey, you know what? I'm one of the best engineers you'll ever get. I think that's a step forward. I think the Sri Lankan engineer needs to be a bit more vocal about their ability, but definitely opens the playing field, and they should, in my opinion, demand, the same amount treatment, whether they are a Sri Lankan engineer or US-based engineer. As far as a company, for me, it should not make a difference. So what if I live in a lower cost, area, and I think that's the key thing that we need to be able to educate the talent. Again, I'm not talking as GrabTech, I'm talking as an individual, an advocate for Sri Lanka. I think this is something that we need to be much more vocal about.
So in GrabTech, you practice that, and probably you may be paying all people in different countries in the same currency, or probably the same level of compensation, is it?
I believe so. I'll be honest, I'm not that involved in the HR, but I don't know if, I think Harshana is probably much more privy to this than I am, but I believe we do offer USD current payments into Sri Lanka. I am not sure if we currently, any danger is taking it up, but I believe we do offer it. But again, I'm not the person to answer that one.
So in short, it is not definitely a case of high skill, low cost, is it?
Absolutely not. It should not be. I don't think it should be like that. Definitely should not be that. And I think, does it happen? Most likely. But I don't think, again, taking my GrabTech hat off, I don't think it should, because high skill should be high skill, regardless if you're on the moon or in Colombo. It shouldn't make a difference. Because at the end of the day, I think companies should gauge based on outcome and results versus anything else.
Yeah. So when coming back to our subject of the Sri Lankan tech talent, in the current scenario, why the HRM is important for cyberpreneurs, for example, these different age groups about working in a kind of an environment where as far as the GrabTech is concerned.
Sorry, if you could repeat that question again.
I mean, why HRM is human resource management is important for the cyberpreneurs, cyber entrepreneurs.
Absolutely, because again, with remote first, and one of the key things that I always talk about. So as you mentioned, I'm originally from Libya. I had to relocate, and I moved my family to London. So we have very similar cultures as the East, right? We're very family oriented and everything, which means remote first. I mean, me as a Sri Lankan, I assume the best thing you want to do is earn a great living doing something that you love doing near your family, near your culture, near your home. With remote first, this becomes much more feasible. The only difference is now is that HR needs to change their mindset and understand how they can communicate, manage, and support remote first engineers. And this comes in multiple things, right? Whether it's resources, whether it's just a human communication and touch, right? And so there's a lot of these things, for example, it's easier for me to gauge traditionally, I assume, if the person is in front of me face to face. But how do you gauge the performance, the well-being of an individual that is 3,000 kilometers away? So I think HR's job has become significantly much more complex and more important, because I need to make sure that I manage these human beings from halfway around the world as if they're right next to me. So yeah, absolutely, it's critical, because at the end of the day, the human beings are going to make your company or break your company. So you need to take care of them significantly more, especially that they're far away.
Yeah, of course, as you said, Nova, like the IT or the digital technologies are evolving exponentially. And I hope in this area that people management technologies or the people management profession also need to quickly evolve in grabbing these kind of, the scenarios. For example, as you said, how do I know that 3,000 miles or 3,000 kilometers apart, how his performance is, how we make company, give value to the company as a talent, and then how you can kind of promote and improve their talents in this area. And then again, it comes the question about the loyalty to the organization. How do you find Sri Lankan professionals in that area?
Definitely. Generally speaking, when you're dealing with professionals at a certain level, there's a certain expectation, right, from an ethical point of view or
Yeah.
just a loyalty. I'll give you a specific example. You know, when we try to recruit candidates in Sri Lanka, the first key thing is, and you'll notice, I would say 100% of our recruits who have left their previous job have all left on good terms, right? So that's, I think, is a great indicator of the character of the person, right? There's no need to burn bridges. This is an opportunity, whether they're leaving GrubTech or joining GrubTech, you know, you have to leave on good terms. And I noticed that a lot of the Sri Lankan talent, or the bulk, or 100% of the Sri Lankan talent, are conscious of this, making sure that they leave on good terms, that this is just, you know, our future, the talent's future, they need to proceed and progress. So we as a company have to respect whether they're coming into a new company or going to a different establishment, right? So absolutely, I think this is it's a very key characteristics of a Sri Lankan talent that you guys should be very proud about. Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. So that's really it's really encouraging, you know, to hear that. You know, up to now, you know, as I think we both have agreed, like, you know, before the advent of COVID, this flat world we haven't seen, that the opportunities we have not seen, and what are these kind of opportunities that we as Sri Lankans were being deprived of those days. So now that it is opened up, though, there is a whole new vistas that opens for the Sri Lankan digital professionals, or the cyberpreneurs, I would say. And what are the highly paid areas where, as far as the online employment or the remote work is concerned, in the area of your, I would say,
Mr.
cyber.
Fernando,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you mind if I just step out for 1 second? Just give me 2 seconds. If I can just do something,
Sure.
I'll be right back. Sorry,
Sure,
give me 2
sure,
seconds.
sure.
I apologize.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think, you know, we've been hearing some interesting things, and of course, some things which we can be happy about the ICT, you know, professionals of Sri Lanka. And well, the Sri Lanka, with an extensive ecosystem to support and provide IT services to the world's best enterprises, and has been celebrating innovation and creativity, also and problem-solving capabilities for many years, actually, our IT talent. And the IT service providers of the country are equipped to provide intricate engineering solutions and services to their global clientele, as now you have witnessed about the GrubTech. And not only GrubTech, as you know, there are many BPOs in Sri Lanka which runs well with high numbers of Sri Lankan IT talent, build successful IT service provisioning ventures, which contribute to the Sri Lankan economy after all. And of course, recently, the World Economic Forum ranked Sri Lanka among the top 10 in the Asia in the Network Readiness Index. So this is something to be brag about, actually be proud about. So today, Sri Lanka has an established a base of many IT service providers with the global clientele and the best-in-class talent, as Mo very correctly said, the tier one professionals talent in recruited to these companies to extend products and services to clients. The ability to set up seamless and consistent service providers and power these establishments with competent talent sets, Sri Lanka as the perfect IT service provider for any enterprise in the global landscape. And also, let us explore the value clients can experience by outsourcing IT-related services to Sri Lanka. And as I said, Mo is a living example of such hiring. Okay, you can continue, Mo.
Terribly sorry.
It's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry. Hello?
Yeah, you can hear it. We can hear you.
Terribly sorry. I just had to step out for something urgent.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, you had a question for me?
Yeah, I was talking about actually the what are the kind of there are many jobs in the ICT industry, and also when you talk about digital technologies. Now, currently, what are the highly paid opportunities which you have in the industry? For example, if you work on big data or other things like different evolving technologies. So what are the current trends in the ICT industry where you are rewarded more?
I think this is a tricky one, right? Because at the end of the day, technology is being required. Everybody talks about having big data and AI and everything, but one thing that people forget, and this is again, in my humble opinion, that AI does not live on itself on its own. It needs to be. There's still your traditional sort of engineering that are building infrastructure or building applications that are at scale. So I think if I had to pick something, I would say don't initially. I'm assuming it naturally depends on what level you are from an experience level, right? One of the key things is that you need to have a very strong foundation. If you look at the engineers that are currently in GrubTech, all of them, hands down, they're not developers, they're engineers, which means they have a very strong understanding of the core essence of coding, or the how programs work, or the infrastructure of the actual mechanism of the development, because then they can learn anything else. So you can start with a specific programming language, and then grow yourself into additional other things. So before you start talking about focusing on AI, get yourself a very strong foundation, because that will help you to build other things. But if you're at the level where you're an experienced engineer and now you want to be much more focused, then you can look at machine learning, which is now becoming much more prevalent and being used in very different ways in different industries. Besides that, I'll be honest to you, in my opinion, an engineer is an engineer now, and they need to be able to adapt and move. So today you're doing something and then be able to pick. I'll give you one scenario. One of our engineer, Chanaka, we basically built a contactless cubbies. Chanaka is a coder. He's a software developer. What did he do? He designed a complete PCB board, as in an electronic board from the ground up, with the software and all the chips and everything. We sent it off to China, got it built, and now it's running in Expo. So, and he built this almost, if not single-handedly, and he's a software developer. He's not a hardware guy, but he's the kind of the talent that I'm talking about, that is able to learn different technologies and adapt to it, and be able to continue evolving and developing. And there are tons of examples like this in the company. I just picked Chanaka as one example, but there's tons of them that do this. And this is the talent that you need. You need to be much more adaptable. You cannot lock yourself with saying, I am only doing this technology and that's it. Time evolves, the world evolves, you need to be able to move. And I think uniquely, the Sri Lankan engineer has that capacity to be able to develop and move and learn. Exactly, absolutely. One shortage that we do find in Sri Lanka, if I have to point something else that we found a shortage, are front-end developers, sort of not back-end, sort of front-end developers. There is a shortage where we had to, in a sense, try to find other resources somewhere else. But other than that, at least in my experience, your typical engineer out of Sri Lanka is able to adapt to any technology. Tomorrow, if I need, we decide, guys, the engineering, Ishan, head of engineering, says, you know what, tomorrow we're going to do something completely different language, or we're going to do something completely. I am 100% confident that all the engineers that we have can pivot and be able to go into a different direction. And that's the flexibility and the power and comfort that gives us, as let's say, as founders of the company.
All right. So that is something which actually we need to learn. And well, I was thinking of a question about, See, now a platform like yours, the GrabTech platform like yours, provides the back-end solutions for the restaurant industry and the hotel industry. I think in my little knowledge of ICT or IT, this thing, maybe the robotics also can get involved, right? And plus the blockchain technologies, where most of the companies, especially the banks, I think blockchain will be very much useful when it comes to your kind of area of work. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I have my own sort of personal opinion about blockchain and where it's going to go and how it's going to evolve. Do I see blockchain? Blockchain is a great technology. What I would advise any engineering or talent like this is to keep an eye on this technology, understand, not because you want to use it, it's because it might open your eyes to something else in your everyday job, right? So one thing is that you're always reading about other, you're educating yourself about different types of technology. Again, you might not use blockchain. I don't believe personally that blockchain is going to be prevalent enough that is going to be widely used because of other limitations. But
when you talk about running when you talk about running your inventories, especially.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. So ideally, yeah, you should run your inventory in blockchain, but there's a problem. The problem is that it's only valid if the inventory life cycle is end-to-end on that blockchain, which is not practical. People have tried it, right? But I need my farmer all the way to my consumer, that whole cycle, to be tapped into this blockchain, so I can trace it, right? So, but my point is, learning and knowing how to use blockchain, that doesn't mean might not benefit you to use it today, but what it does is it allows you to understand different concepts and be able to utilize these concepts the way you think in your something that is non-blockchain related, right?
Mm-hmm.
So learning, I think it's very important and keeping your horizons open for the sake of learning is still very important. Unfortunately, I don't believe a lot of us are doing this anymore, right? We're too busy in our everyday life and we're not, but I think we definitely should try to take a step back and try to learn new things purely as an educational, and keep your eye open and learning new things to pull, and help you in your everyday work.
Yeah, all right. So thank you, Mo. And of course, there are many, the BPOs established very early in Sri Lanka, and they are still there expanding. For example, companies like Virtusa, companies like IFS, and many other are active in prominent IT service providers in Sri Lanka, and they have the aggressive market footprints and in the global market. And according to the statistics also, that in Sri Lanka, there are nearly about maybe a few months or a year back, around 146,000 ICT professionals in the industry. And I hope that this is ever growing. And people like you promoting Sri Lankan IT talent, we must be very much, thankful, and we must be really appreciative of about the opportunities that you are providing to Sri Lankan IT professionals. And for that, and even right now, even you're promoting the country and also our professionals. And because I think in Sri Lanka, as you said, one thing that which brings out tier one professionals is because the new talent who are absorbed in these companies undergo rigorous training and technology and processes also at the beginning, and also the universities and tech schools which produce our ICT talent are quite stringent in their syllabuses and other work, I hope. And I think this is some trend that we have to continue for the future also, to produce top class IT talent in our country. So finally, anything else that you would like to contribute or share with us more?
Yeah, I think if I what I'd love to see, if you ask me what I would love to see Sri Lanka, I think it's I'd like to see more homegrown startups that have global ambitions, and I think generally I'm a very positive mindset, and I think there's a massive opportunity. Sri Lanka has the talent. I was mentioning it that last time in Sri Lanka, I saw this Vega, this guy built this. You're right, I think it was called Vega, and then some other kid built a helicopter, right?
Yeah.
These are amazing gems, right? These are amazing opportunities that, and I think if you go to any, and I visited a couple of universities, one of your universities, and I think amongst them, if the Sri Lankan engineer, he or she sits back and takes looks around and has some guidance, I think us gray-haired people, and I say us, me being a Sri Lankan, is that we need to do a much better job to nurture these talent and give them the opportunity and the channel to be able to try and experiment and fail, right? So I think we're not doing a good enough job in encouraging these, giving them opportunities. A lot of these talent will learn. They learn. They've access to all these big BPOs or GropTech and other companies that are on GropTech. So they have the knowledge. They just need the guidance. They need the comfort. That's what because I can imagine Sri Lankan culture is very similar to my own, where there is a slight stigma about failure, right? One of my companies didn't just fail; it was a complete disaster. I mean, it was at an Olympic level flame out. But you gotta get up and you keep moving and you try, and you need a strong support system. I wouldn't have survived to be where I am if I didn't have a strong system. We need to build the same strong support system in Sri Lanka to allow these crazy people to come up with a crazy idea that might not work, but it's okay. Let them try, or let her try. I think that's what's missing. And I promise you, even with small steps, I think there'll be some amazing talent. And you have very good access to Asia Pacific, and enough of a big population where you can start a small startup that can be highly successful. But you just need, the talent has the tools, they can execute. We just need the support system around them to show them that they can do this, and we have your back. It's okay, fail, get up and do it again. As long as you promise to get up and do it again, right? So that's why when I was asked, what's my dream? Truthfully, my dream is I want to be invited. I would not be happier if I get 2 to 3 people in GropTech that spin off and do their own startup and ask me to be on their board or somehow. That'll be the happiest day, because you know what that means? I did something that I impacted, because that person is going to leave GropTech and build a company and hire 20 people. That means my contribution, my simple, humble contribution, has affected these many people. And then I'm at a stage of life where I want to see that. What would be better? I can, and I'll say, what? That's that guy or that girl. At one point, she started as a basic software engineer, and she's developed, and now she has her own thing. That's like the most proudest thing. It's like your own children, right? And this is why I was excited about being on this, because I want to, whoever is still on the call to hear this, whoever hears this from Sri Lanka, take the plunge, try it. There's never going to be a good time. The good time will never happen. The good time is now. Get it done. And trust me, one thing that I learned the hard way is there are more people that will support you than right? Because we're always afraid, like, oh, how am I going to get some? Generally speaking, if you're a good person and you go ask for help, people will help you for nothing in exchange. You just need to be brave enough and go ask for help. And believe me, there are tons of people, at least my limited experience in Sri Lanka, that people will step out of their way to make sure they support you. And you have great institutions like the CIPM and stuff that can actually use it as a board to be able to launch initiatives. And I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to see more. Pick Me is a wonderful story, right? Cake Labs, if I remember, that's also another Sri Lankan company. That's a great story. Then what? Why did we lose the momentum, right? So I think that we need to.
And we also have Kapruka.
I'm not familiar with that, but these are the ones at least in my space. But and I'll be honest with you, we're as GropTech, we should also be responsible to pushing this agenda as well. we should be, held liable, saying, look, you guys are using talent. And I want to say something. Although, it's great for me to do this presentation, but let me make something very clear. If the Sri Lankan talent didn't deserve or did not earn, what they did, I wouldn't be here, right? I'm not a charity.
Of course.
So it's good enough for me to say, oh, Muhammad, thank you so much for coming and promoting Sri Lanka, but I'm not doing anybody a favor. If I truly didn't believe what I'm saying, I wouldn't be here and have this publicly recorded and broadcasted, right? So, although as I'm a foreigner and I'm being outside, non-Sri Lankan, I really believe that Sri Lankan talent, you guys need to, whoever is listening to this, should sort of get up and do something, try something small, get a bunch of your friends, you can do this. You have the talent, you have the manpower, you have the brains, massive market near you. You don't have to go far. What are you waiting for?
Thank you, Mo. I think it's really magnanimous of you, when you say that, you're the offering this kind of things to Sri Lanka. And also you are spot on when you talk about the support system to our talent pool. That is something which we are missing, really, unlike in other countries. For example, when you do a startup, you may be having, you just can plunge in without, any fear or I think that which you second thoughts, because there is support system. If it fails, yes, you can move on further. But probably the problem with our ICT talent is when you plunge in, and if you fail, you would never know what would happen because there is no proper support system. For example, financing, seed capital, and things like that. I think something which is really needed in order that our talent, our ICT talent can move on and, as you said, do some startups and come up startups. There are very few, but there are good, as you said, Pick Me, and there are a few other things like, Kaparuka and maybe some other online, sales companies and things like that. But one thing is for sure that, as you said, need support system, a good support system. Yeah. And the opportunity is now, yes, because
absolutely.
I think turbulence is something which we can really exploit.
Absolutely.
This is something correct. So thank you, Mo. And also I must give some opportunity for participants, the viewers, to ask a few questions. I suppose now it's the time for you, and we can open up for your questions if anyone would like to ask. We can allow and we can give opportunity for a few questions to raise.
And there are no questions that you can't answer. Please feel free to ask me any questions. You might not like my answer, but you're gonna get an answer. So I'm more than happy to field any question.
Yeah, sure. So I already have fielded enough questions now, so there is the opportunity for the participants to do that. Hopefully.
Everybody's being very shy.
Yeah, probably.
We do have one hand up, I think.
No, that's me.
Oh, that's you. Well, I hope you guys, anybody on the call, don't be shy. Ask any question. There's no such thing as a silly question.
Yeah.
If you're interested, I like spicy food. I don't know, probably that's not a question, but just in case you give.
Yeah. What's the food that you like the most in Sri Lanka? Yeah, there is a question from Kartiga. How can sustain business in the barrier of political environment is bad in Sri Lanka? I don't know whether you get the question right.
I got the question. I live in the Middle East, so I don't know what so when you talk about bad political instability, I think I beat you guys on that one. But let me put it this way.
And you were born in Libya, in Tripoli.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me, and I hope you, the person who asked the question, I hope you take this from considering me, let's say, an older brother. And I was in the same shoes, right? We always find a reason why not to do something. There's always going to be a reason. The political environment, right? The rupee is not, there's an inflation. There's always a reason why not to do something. Is it unstable? Absolutely. But let me tell you something. Do you know how many startups there are today in the Palestinian territory? Tons of startups in Palestinian territory, which is a population under occupation, right? I don't think Sri Lanka is in that bad of a situation. So I can always give you multiple examples of where there's opportunity. Is it difficult? Yeah, absolutely, it's difficult. Because if it was easy, other people would have done it, right? So you need to, we have to navigate these waters to make sure that you achieve your dream. Nobody's going to do it for you. And guess what? If it's hard for you, it's going to be hard for other people. That means whoever gets there first. One more thing, the great idea you might have, it's not going to be unique. Other people will have a similar idea, maybe even better. The only difference is down to who is the one, or he or she is going to go out and do it and be able to deliver it. That's where it counts, not having the idea. So is the political environment unstable, not nice? Yes, 100%. There are many other countries that are probably in worse situations. Is the economy down the toilet? Yeah, it's true. It is. But guess what? Now you're talking about a global economy. What you build, you might not sell it in Sri Lanka, right? Don't think about it like that. You might prototype it, you might test it in Sri Lanka in a smaller demographic where you can be able to control it. But don't limit yourself. Is the first one going to succeed? Most likely not. You need to come in on a mindset knowing that my first one is going to fail, the second one's going to fail, the third one's going to fail, but the fourth one might succeed, right? So you just got to be determined to be able to do this and try to bypass these issues. It's tough. Nobody said it's going to be easy, but the reward is enormous.
Oh, yeah. Nawanti is asking, currently, are there any remote working opportunities available related to HR at your company? How can we apply for such opportunities there? Yes, something that I also wanted to ask from you as the last question. How can anyone, if we wanted to join, what is the process and how do we do that? Yeah.
We have a wonderful team in Sri Lanka, headed by Rashanti, and we have a complete HR team that will definitely be more than happy to talk to you. We're always, like I said, we're always looking for talents. Even if there isn't a position, if you're the right person, we will make a position for you. So, we're always growing. So please reach out to, I think Harshana is here, or even Rashanti. Harshana, I don't know, is there a way that anybody can reach out to and contact GropTech in Sri Lanka?
Yes, I think through Rushanti you can reach, or so maybe if somebody is in the call who's interested, always can reach me through CIPA. I will direct to the relevant person.
Also, probably through your website, is it? You have the employment opportunity page, yes. I suppose, or a tab, right? Okay.
But even if it's not there, please reach out, because like I said, even if there isn't an opening, for the right talent, we will make an opening.
All right, that's fine. That's really, kind of keeping our hopes alive, the youngsters. And Dinaya is asking, please explain on how about your company in the chat box, really, consumer order chain, and what is the technology do you use?
Sorry, I didn't see the question.
It's in the chat box, Mauva, rather. She's, okay. I think it's she. Yeah.
Okay.
Dinaya.
Company consumer order chain. What is the technology? Okay. So basically, our current technology is based on Java Spring Boot with Kafka as our event streaming technology. We use MongoDB. Everything is, API based when it comes to integrating with the inbound food aggregators. I don't know if you have a specific question, more than happy to answer. Like I said, full disclosure. I don't know if you can ask something specific.
All right. Since in the interest of time,
sorry, I can add one more thing.
Yeah,
the most amazing thing about our technology is the way it was engineered. but the young men and women of Sri Lanka is that it's based on microservices architecture. So, for example, we just recently launched a point of sale system that is running on Node.js, right? So again, going back to doing it properly in the beginning with these great people that we have, allows us the flexibility. So tomorrow we want to build a machine learning engine in some weird language or some new technology, we can do that. And again, that was purely because of how these guys put it together.
That's great. That's great. Achala is asking, hi, thank you for the introduction, and I need your company website contact details to get to know more. Can you type it under this thing, Harshana, the company website, please?
Sure, Mr. Fernando, will do that.
Yeah, all right. So then, anything else? Let me see.
Oh, funding channels.
Yeah, funding channels.
So that's a difficult one for me to answer because I don't know much about the incubator or the funding channels that are available in Sri Lanka. But if there isn't, there should be. I mean, if you look at all the different incubators, and I apologize, I don't have a straight answer because truthfully, I'm not very knowledgeable about the funding from a seed startup in Sri Lanka. But what I could do is, Harshana, if you can just ask the team in Sri Lanka just to take a look, and I pass it through the CIPM, some sort of newsletter, see if there's any incubators or seed funding in Sri Lanka that could be available. But yeah, you need something like an incubator or some sort of seed funding. Just to give you an idea, when we launched GropTech, we didn't get any institutional funding. It was all high net worth individuals in the region and family offices that funded the company to get it off the ground. And then we just closed our Series A's from a US based institution.
All right. So, okay, then. It's time for us to wind up, actually, and I hope that this important and interesting discussion with Mr. Mohammed Hamedi has given a lot of insight about the booming opportunities for Sri Lanka tech talent, and especially when it comes to tech talent, HR or the people professionals also are a part of that tech talent pool, even right now, the youngsters, because people management also have become more than a part of the ICT infrastructure of organizations. And thank you very much, Mr. Hamedi, or Mo, I would say. And let us meet up when you're in Sri Lanka once, have a cup of tea and a ginger beer, I hope. And also I thank Mr. Dhammika Kobbekadua, my colleague, my master's colleague, who has invited me to take up this. This is the second time or third time, I suppose, I'm moderating one of these Candy Chapter seminars or webinars. So thank you very much, Dhammika. And I would like to hand over to Harshana, our Candy Chapter member and the Grub member also, to formally thank the people. Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Fernando, for that introduction. So first of all, thank you everyone who joined for this session today. So first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Mohammed Hamedi, of CTO, co-founder of GrabTech. So taking time to work on this with me to deliver this presentation or this discussion. Taking time off from your busy schedule, and also Mr. Dhammika Fernando, I know you are a busy professional. I believe you are still at office. So thank you very much for your compromisation and taking some time off from your busy schedule as well. And also, as Mr. Dhammika Fernando mentioned, Mr. Dhammika Kobbekadua, who's the chairman of the Candy chapter, for the motivation and support, and also the working committee of the CIPM Candy chapter, who's the chief organizer of this event, and the CIPM IT team from Surya, Krishant, Ganishka, who involved in the IT perspective, and also the admin team from Indika, Udani, and Tisat from the marketing and branding and flyer designing and so on and so forth. So, and also to everybody, again, thank you very much for participating. I believe it's a fruitful session for all of us. And as Mo mentioned, keep believing in you. As Sri Lankans, right, we can light up a candle during these hard times. So thank you very much all for your contribution and support and your valuable comments in the chat. I see few comments. So thank you again. It's a great motivation to all of us. So thank you very much. And Mr. Dhammika Fernando, do you have anything to add over there?
All right. No, I think we have thank everybody and thank enough. So once again, Mo, so it was a very interesting, very intriguing session of chat which we've had, and we learned quite a lot from you, and especially about the startups, which is really required by for our young and budding ICT talent. Of course, the opportunity is right now. There is no other time. It's now. The opportunity is now. So with that notion, let us wind up the session for now. And good night. And thank you once again, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care.